For decades, historians explained the fall of ancient civilizations through a single visible enemy, the mysterious sea peoples. This narrative suggests a sudden, violent catastrophe, where an invading force arrives and a society simply ends. This story is popular because it provides a clear cause and a decisive turning point. It is a clean narrative that feels complete. But the physical evidence tells a messier story. Destruction layers in ruined cities are not aligned. Some sites were abandoned without a single sign of violent attack, while others showed evidence of decline years before any external pressure appeared. The Bronze Age collapse around 1200 BCE looks less like a single event and much more like a systemic failure. By 1200 BCE, the Eastern Mediterranean was an early form of globalization. The Mycenaeans, Hittites, and Egyptians were linked through trade and diplomacy. This system moved metals, grain, and textiles across vast distances, ensuring resources reached regions that lacked them. Managing this trade required complex administrative structures. Look at this cuneiform tablet. It represents a writing system dedicated to tracking transactions and maintaining the political balance of the network. Interconnected systems are efficient, but they are also fragile. When everything depends on everything else, disruptions do not stay local. They propagate. Instead of one catastrophic trigger, researchers now look at overlapping stresses. The first suspect is climate, with evidence from pollen records suggesting periods of prolonged drought across the region. Reduced rainfall crippled agricultural output. In a system where major cities depended on steady inflows of planes to survive, even small shortages could cascade into larger crises. At the same time, long-distance trade routes began to fail. These bronze swords required tin, a metal that had to be imported from distant regions. When those trade routes were disrupted by conflict, the entire military and economic infrastructure of the age began to weaken. Ancient societies had survived environmental fluctuations before. What made this moment different was the level of interdependence. These isolated pressures were insufficient to destroy a civilization on their own, but collectively, they stripped the network of its ability to absorb shocks. In a tightly coupled system, causality is distributed. No single factor dominates. Instead, interactions amplify each other. Human responses to these crises often accelerate the collapse. Food scarcity increases internal tension. Trade partners become competitors. Leaders prioritize short-term survival, creating a feedback loop of instability. Only after the system begins to fracture do external groups, raiders, and displaced populations move into the territory. They are entering an environment that is already failing. This is the process of cascading failure. Stress leads to instability. Instability disrupts the system. Disruption creates more stress until the loop reinforces itself and the system can no longer sustain its structure. The collapse appears uneven because the system fragments rather than falling all at once. Some regions recover quickly, while others disappear entirely. The archaeological record shows a loss of complexity. Writing systems disappear, administrative structures break down, craft specialization declines as societies become simpler, localized, and less interconnected. The world that replaced the old one was different. It was less connected and less capable of sustaining the systems that had previously supported millions. The Bronze Age reveals that hyper-optimization, the very trait that makes a complex system efficient, makes it violently fragile when conditions change. For the people living through this unraveling, the process would have felt uncertain and fragmented. There was no clear signal that the system as a whole was failing, only local disruptions, each seemingly manageable at the time. Modern global economies and ecosystems operate on these same hidden vulnerabilities. Systems often appear stable right up until the moment they are not. Stability depends on managing fragility. Systems require intentional redundancy and resilience, ensuring that a disruption in one node does not trigger a global unraveling. If interconnectedness creates inevitable vulnerability, do highly complex systems ever truly avoid that risk, or only delay it?